For this, I'm counting every confirmed death that causes the loop to reset, and whether we've seen the exact moment of death or the movie immediately confirms it with the next reset. Here we find out that he landed in London and he's about ready to have a meeting, and he finds out that he has to go to the beach on the next day to join the fight. He's not very happy about it, and so he begins to start running away, and then he ends up getting tased and knocked unconscious. After waking up from being unconscious, he ends up meeting Master Sergeant Farrell. Here he thinks he's going to be taken to a phone so that he can call his commander, but instead he ends up meeting J Squad, and these are the individuals that make up J Squad. This guy right here with the beard, he's my favorite out of J Squad. Over the next several pictures, we're going to be seeing the army getting ready to land in France on the beach. I love this part along with all the chaos that's on the beach, because it just shows you how massive this attack is, and I love that landing right there. Here soon we'll be seeing a guy on fire. I thought that was pretty funny. In this next part we will see Cage just about getting hit by that ship, and here is Rita, but unfortunately she dies right here. Over the next few pictures we will be seeing Cage ended up grabbing a landmine and end up killing the Alpha, and since he gets the blood in his system he will end up repeating the same day, and here's death number 1, and here's him resetting the day. Here he looks confused, rightfully so, and here we are already getting ready to go to death number 2. And he's reset again. In this part, he is trying to tell J Squad about him resetting the day, and that's why the tape is there. And here we are leading up to death number 3. Over the next couple of pictures, we will see him reset, and he ends up seeing Rita, and he runs towards her, and he ends up dying right here by the truck. With this part, he's able to avoid death from the truck. And then he ends up seeing her, rescuing her, and shooting the mimics, and this is where she realizes that he has what she had, and so she lets the ship explode, and here's death number 5. Just before the ship exploded, Rita said, "Come find me when you wake up." So this is him trying to get to Rita, and unfortunately he dies right here by getting run over by the truck, and I love this expression on his face. Over the next few pictures, we will see that he finally gets to Rita, and he explains to her what's happening to him has happened to her. And right here she says, "What do I have? Is there something wrong?" And then he explains it to her, and they end up going to this guy who is like an inventor of the device, and the only other person that knows about the Omega, which is what we're seeing right now. And this is where he starts his training, and unfortunately in this part he ends up getting his back broke, so Rita ends up killing him, which equals death number 7. A lot of his deaths in these sequences are pretty funny, and here comes death number 8. I love where Rita's just like, "I don't care, I'm gonna kill you so we can get the day restarted." And in this section right here, he's basically asking her if she's had sex to transmit the stuff. And here comes death number 9 by getting squished into the wall. And then here comes death number 10. Rita just ends up being like, and then shoots him to reset the day. And then here comes death number 11. With the video clip that's coming up, the deaths just happened so fast that I did a video clip of it. So hopefully you guys like this. But with that last death, we end up getting a vision of where the Omega is. And then so he goes back to that guy and they discuss it. And now they're trying to do the beach, and unfortunately he dies again right here. And then they try to do it again, and here comes death number 16. This next scene coming up is where the mimics invade London, and we got death number 17. After death number 17, he is pretty much done with training. He has nothing else really to learn when it comes to the fighting. This part of the movie is what actually gave me the idea to make this video. Rita and we the audience believe this is the first time we're seeing this part. He knows that everything he does, Rita dies. In order to save Rita's life, he decides to go to Germany himself. Here he finds out that the Omega is not there, but ends up meeting the Alpha, and they block his death, but he ultimately drowns himself. He ends up telling Rita and that guy that the Omega is not there. Here they go to the general to get this device so that he can connect to the Omega to find out where it truly is. Here he ends up injecting himself with this device, and he ends up finding out that the Omega is in Paris at the Louvre. While he is having the vision, they end up getting chased down, and unfortunately he ends up getting shot, losing blood, and this guy right here ends up making their car flip, and they are both unconscious, and because of blood transfusion, he ends up losing the power. Rita ends up rescuing him, and she's about ready to stab him, but he tells her that he has lost the power. With Rita's help, he is able to recruit J Squad, but unfortunately on their way to the Louvre in Paris, they end up all dying except for Rita and Cage. The mimics end up ultimately destroying the ship that they are in, and they end up crash landing going into the Louvre. After the ship comes to a stop, Cage is thrown out of it and lands at the bottom of the Louvre right here. This is the only part in the movie where they end up kissing, so I think that they fall in love ultimately, and unfortunately this here's where Rita dies. The Alpha that just killed Rita ends up following Cage down into the water where the Omega is, and he pulls the pin, and it ends up killing off the Omega, but in the process it ends up killing him for the final death. But with the final death, it does one final reset. Instead of the reset always being on the bag, this time it is when Cage is flying back into London. The last image that you'll see will be actually from the beginning of the movie, but I put subtitles on it to show that it was foreshadowed about Rita's time loop. My final death count is 21. Most people miss it. You won't.